Hello, welcome back to Thrive Make a Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So I am here today recording on grief and abundance. And this last month, I have had a huge month of processing. I've been doing a lot of coaching of myself, using my tools, journaling. I'm back to journaling, which is really nice because I haven't done that in a while, even though I've authored 2 books. I felt really a block around writing, almost like hearing my own voice. And I think that this was due in part to the breakup that I went through last year, which was like probably the worst thing I've ever been through. I came across a pocket of terror that had been kind of hovering around in me. And why this is significant, besides that, like, terror is scary, it's like ultimate scary. But that pocket of terror prevented me from reaching the depths of the grief that I needed to reach to fully process and let go of the relationship that I was in for 6.5 years. And I think in prior relationships, what had happened was, one, I don't think I was fully really in love because it took me about 2.5 months to get over the relationship. And these were relationships that were like 5, 6 years. This last one, I kind of went through the same thing. I'm like, all right, grief is my jam. I can get through this. And I got to a certain point and I was like, all right, well, it doesn't feel like there's anything less. I guess I'm ready to date again. And kind of like went on dates, met a guy, and there had been like these signs coming up of like this pocket of terror that would make me shake. Not like quite panic attack, but it was some sort of flavor of it. And it was for the inner work that I do, I'm not so arrogant to say, "Oh, I have it all figured out." I do not. I'm a human being that's figuring it out as I go, but I share my journey and maybe that's endearing. But that pocket of terror came up and I had to like unbury it and work on it and do like journaling and like a lot of processing, like just going through the layers and trying to figure out like, what does this mean? What is this teaching me? Like kind of go into that subconscious realm, which I can do on my own. Um, but it is difficult for someone who is not trained to be able to get there on your own. I'm not saying it can't happen, it sure can, but you need to have experience. And at first, you probably need to have a guide, and then you learn how to do it on your own. So, anyways, I was doing this work and I got to a certain point where it's like, I need a professional. So I reached out to a gal. It's called accelerated release technique, which is a combination of EMDR, which I'm a fan of, and kind of like her own touch to it. And we had a big, exhausting session. I mean, full hour, just like going into like bring up a memory. And there was this memory from my childhood of where I almost got killed. My father had not semi-adopted, but kind of like took in a family. She was a friend of mine. Her family, like the father lost his job, I think. And anyways, they were living with us. And at that point, my parents were divorced. And so I would see my dad a couple of times a month and I would stay at his place and the kids were there. So we'd all play together. And there was this older gal who, I mean, in my recollect, I was about 8 years old. So it's like still kind of tiny. And she was somewhere around like 13 or 14. And we did like a dog pile and she just crushed me. And I like it knocked the air out of me and my little lungs like couldn't take a breath. And I thought I was going to die and she wouldn't get off of me. And I was, pushing her off of me and she just wouldn't leave. And it was interesting because that came up. And even though it seemed to be triggered by like relationship stuff or being alone, it was really from that memory, like that terror, because it was that same feeling that I would have in my rib cage of like, like, oh my God, like, what do I do? Like, nobody's here to save me and I can't save me. Right. Which is like, that victim, that helpless. And again, that terror was coming up. So went to the professional. She did an amazing job. I did a lot of prep work, so I'm going to take credit for that. But like, sometimes you put your well-being in the hands of another person with your own, work that you've done. So you work together as a team. So after that happened, I took about 2 or 3 more days to process because this emotional processing stuff, it takes a lot of energy. And then what started coming up was grief And just like how family dynamic now, like my dad lives in New Jersey. I'm very close to him, but my family isn't here. Like my sister lives in Michigan, my little brother lives in California. My other brother, I don't know where he's at. My eldest brother, he's abusive, and I have to keep him out of my life. My second eldest brother passed away last year. So I recognize like how much I was craving this sort of like family dynamic, this sort of like community aspect of just being comfortable, and having that sort of family unit. So I have a roommate right now. Her name is Sue, and she's absolutely amazing. She's one of the most generous, loving people I've ever met. And I wound up staying, like, really hanging out with her for like a couple of days straight and doing so much processing, like so much, like hours a day, like just holding on, journaling, coaching, doing shadow work, doing avatar work. I'm basically like using my whole program on me. And then I combine it with a little bit of EMDR stuff, which is essentially like yogic techniques of like directing the eyes, drishti. Um, Combine that with like some yoga. I did use a little bit of plant medicine assistance. And I was like just on a mission. And I'm coming out of this like kind of like almost coming out of a cocoon. And on the other side of grief is, for me, abundance. Abundance and love, abundance in wealth, abundance in energy. And I feel like I'm sort of like the mist is clearing, and I'm sort of like walking out and like, oh yeah, that's right, my life's fucking amazing. Like, thrive. And like all the people that like love and support me, like I have created this community. I mean, I've channeled God through me, right? But like it's like all of a sudden I'm like coming, like waking up out of this dream of like grief and scarcity and lack. And I'm just like opening my eyes to everything. And the spot that I'm in right now, and I wanted to share this space of abundance, was on the other side of grief. And I had to sit with grief. And it's not like I wasn't willing to, but this is a new thing. And that's why I wanted to do a podcast about this. That pocket of terror was blocking me. It felt like I couldn't reach. I didn't even like I knew something was up because I wasn't myself. Like I'm usually quite ambitious. I'm usually like, all right, like let's go get them, like, but that just wasn't there. Like my go-go wasn't there. And I was like, all right, well, I need to rest. And I'm like, all right, it's been quite a few months. My bank account's dwindling. Like, when's the rest going to be done? And I'm still like conducting myself. I'm not just laying in bed all day. Like, my low level is, for a lot of people, maybe what they would usually do, but I'm used to really like working a lot and getting a lot done. So I just knew that I wasn't myself. That you go through these periods where you're like, I'm not quite, I just don't quite have that spark. So having gone through this, like in processing this grief, I've been so intimate with grief to where I can say humbly that I don't think I had as good a relationship with grief as I had thought. And again, it wasn't that I wasn't willing to experience it. I think that I was impatient, and I will call myself out on that. I think that in prior breakups, it took me 2.5 months to get over that person and then move on. But my last relationship was the first time I was really in love, and that I really wanted it, and it didn't work out. And I'm not like, it wasn't like one or the other, like, said, all right, we're done. It was like both people knew it wasn't working. And there were certain things that, prevented us from moving forward. And I'm so glad that I had this past month to process that, because I think there's a part of me that would have wanted to go back, even after, like, I mean, I see this person like at a local venue and like they just ignore me, which is really hard if you've ever been through a breakup, and then like especially being with someone for 6-7 years and then they just completely pretend you don't exist. It's hard. So I still see this person, and like the other day I've been waved, and like he waved back, which is like the most acknowledgement I've gotten in like almost a year, but I feel like I'm letting go of like that love because there was scarcity in it. There was so many needs unmet on both parts. Sorry, on both sides, and there were just dynamics that just couldn't be figured out. Like sometimes you try. I'm like, I have a lot of tools. I didn't have all of them though. Like I'm now getting into the Gottman method, and I'm just like, wow, where's this been? And I'm like, I have to update all my booklets because I like to give credit where it's due, but like, I like to take different things that I've experienced and like show you like, okay, like here's the creme de la creme, like let me put this together and package it so that like you have a sort of like roadmap and guide. So I'm still learning that and going through it, but like, man, good stuff. To be in this space now of abundance, like to where I feel like I'm coming out, I literally feel like I'm alive again. Like I feel like I'm reborn. I feel like so much more excited for work and for my life. I don't think I realized how depressed I was. And the thing is that, like, you know, it's not like I purposely hid it. It's just that, like, it's sort of like the frog in the water. You like turn up it's like a terrible analogy, but everybody knows what this analogy is. Like, you turn up the heat, and like the frog is like, oh, I guess this is fine. I guess this is fine. And then it's like, so I think that I was just kind of like used to this low hum, and I was just kind of like business as usual, business as usual. What are you going to do? Like you have this feeling within, you have to carry it with you. But I will tell you that I have a renewed sense of passion and belief in what I do and how powerful it is. And I'm so proud of the work that I do, and I love what I do, and I'm so honored to help people. And I can tell you that I've just recently walked through some darkness and some flames, and I'm so excited to share this. I'm still like collecting myself, but this person that I am like stepping into is like the best version of me that I've ever had. And I'm so grateful. And it took some time and patience, and like I said, there was almost like a false bottom. I was like, oh, I've grieved enough here. Like, man, I wish I grabbed a tissue earlier, but it's fine. I'll just sniffle. There was a false bottom that I thought, okay, I've dug into myself enough. It's time for me to like, move on. But because I was impatient, like I didn't realize like, oh, that's actually not the bottom. That's a trap door. So now that I've been deeper, I'm actually like starting to move my body. So I'll tell you this too, like if you are stuck in your life and you feel like I've done work and I just feel like unmotivated, hire a professional. Like if you can't do it on your own, get a coach because your life is worth it. And there are techniques and tools and people who can hold space for you to help you expedite this process. You do not have to suffer for decades and years. I mean, I suffered for like months, and that was me doing work. And then when I realized like, oh, something is not right here, like, oh, my body was literally trembling, then I did the work. Then I had a professional when I came to the point where I'm like, I need help, I need assistance. And I have a lot of my graduates and fellow coaches that I'm constantly coaching and trading services with. So I have a lot of community support. So I'll end on this because I have to go teach a yoga class right now, is that on the other side of grief, of letting go of what didn't work or what was like maybe suddenly ended or maybe like taken, is abundance. And I know that like in my heart and in my bones now, and life can be good. So if you resonate with this, feel free to email me, Erin@erincoach.com. I'm probably going to be doing a series on this. But anyways, I love you all. If you want to go to Japan in November, hit me up, Erin@erincoach.com. And I am very excited to see the reels and clips that are going to be created from this, especially me sniffling. But I hope that you have a fantastic day. Love you all. Namaste.